Good afternoon, everybody. I hope English is fine with everyone. Does everybody speak English? Show of hands. Yes, we're good? Okay. My Chinese is horrible, so I want to start by thanking, the summit for having me and thanking Cypher and our partners at Playtone as well for giving us this opportunity. Let me start by telling you a little bit about what I do and about AstraTech. AstraTech is the biggest digital consumer technology company in our part of the world, in the Middle East. We serve about 150 million users. And about 2 years ago, we were only a communications platform. We were mainly based on comms and calling. And 2 years ago, we decided to enter into payments and to enter into financial transactions. And today, we are the biggest digital financial institution in our region. We process billions in transactions on a monthly basis in all sorts of different scopes of financial technology. And the way we've done that, or the way we've managed to escalate from being only a calling provider or only an instant messaging provider into a proper FinCo and into a financial institution, was by following one stream, which is simplifying everything. I think everybody here today is an expert on blockchain, and I think maybe we can all acknowledge that blockchain has been the longest waited for baby in the technology world. Every few years we get a blockchain hype, and then it dies down a little bit, and then it goes up a little bit, and then it comes back down a little bit. And I think the consumer chapter in blockchain has not been resolved due to one reason, is that most people who work on blockchain are either financial technology experts or engineers. And engineers are really, really good at doing something, which is engineers are very good at complicating things. And that is why if you walk around the conference today and you ask most companies, what do you do? Almost nobody will be able to tell you what they do in one line. They'll tell you, we do this and that and this layer and that layer, and we do a lot of, technical terminology and so on and so forth. My thinking is the next few years are going to be fundamental for blockchain enablement, but what is going to be extremely fundamental for that to happen and for us to unlock the consumer chapter of blockchain and being able to basically capitalize the technology is we need to really simplify it a lot. We really need to make sure it comes down to the basic consumer level as an extremely simple value proposition. Most users, unfortunately, don't understand what layer 0 and layer 1 are. Most users do not really understand the technology they deal with. How many people here use WeChat? Do you really understand the call engine behind WeChat? Do you really understand the layers of technology involved in order for you to make a call? Or do you just pick up the phone and press a button and make a call? Right? And it's the same with blockchain. I think there is a lot of work to be done on the user experience part of things and on the embedding part of things to make it extremely simple. I think for this part of the world, WeChat payments and Alipay payments were some of the simplest or the fastest growing technologies in payments. And the sole reason behind that is that at the time of launch, there was zero consumer friction, which means everybody was able to use those technologies extremely well. It did not come out as a technology that is exclusive for the developer community. It did not come out as a technology that is exclusive for the technology geeks and for the engineers. It came out as a technology for everyone. And when the QR code technology came about, a farmer at the very end of China was able to use it very well and understand why they need to use it. And my grandmother was able to use it very well and understand why she needs to use it. And I think this is a very big angle of what we need to do in the blockchain space for us to be able to start empowering or pushing this technology into its consumer chapter. I think simplicity is going to become a massive theme in the space. And this also reflects when I look at a lot of our partners that we deal with, whether it's on stablecoin issuance or whether it's on blockchain transactions or whether it's on tokenization. When you look at the organizations themselves, it's 95% engineers and they have one designer and two sales guys. And then they wonder, why does nobody understand what we do? Because engineers for most of the time can't explain what they do. They're very brilliant at building very sophisticated architecture. But like I said, the case of human nature is we most of the time, almost 99% of the time, we don't understand the technologies that we use. We sit in this building, we see those massive pillars, we have no idea how they were built. We drive on roads and bridges, we use them on daily basis. We have no idea how those were built or how the technology works. But we know one thing, it works for us, it solves a problem. And that's where my thinking is, that is one of the most important chapters of focus that's gonna come into the industry for the next few years. A second part of our success was that we targeted the mass volume of users. A lot of the problem statements that I feel a lot of the companies in the space are targeting are not big enough problem statements, or they are problem statements that do not really solve the problem for the most common user or for the most widespread percentage of users. How many people are building a new blockchain solution here, just by a show of hands? Nobody? Just one person? How many people are building a solution for a business? So for the banks can use it or big financial institutions can use it? 3 people. And how many people are building a solution for farmers to use? No one, right? There are a lot more farmers than there are banks, right? That's one thing a lot of people don't focus on, is when you're building a solution, you want to go for the big entity, you want to go for the big organization, you want to close the contract with that bank. Guess what? The bank doesn't need you. The bank already makes a lot of money. The bank doesn't really need a solution until it is disrupted. Most of the time, big technology players or big financial players, they do not understand they have a problem. Who remembers Nokia? BlackBerry? You know, those two companies, until their last day, they were adamant they did not have a problem. Those were very big companies. They were at some point in time, they owned the industry or the asset class they were operating in. But if you were asking them at the very last day, do you have a problem? They were like, probably not. And that is the same example that applies to the banks, most of the central banks, a lot of the bigger institutions. They are organizations that already make a lot of money. They are organizations that have been doing the same thing for a very long time. So they don't feel like they have a problem. They don't understand they have a problem. So when you come with your solution, they're probably not very likely to adopt it. But if you go to a farmer's economics are much simpler. They're much swifter. If he has a problem, he understands he has a problem. And that's how, or that's where we see the scale of things like WeChat and Alipay come in place. It did not come through scaling through massive organization. It came through scaling through the basic consumer need, or it came through capitalizing on the most basic consumer need. So I think a lot of thinking needs to be done on a lot of the problem statements, and how do those problem statements actually reflect on a very basic level user? How do those problem statements actually attack a certain problem user market? And I think my last point as well, and I share this from our experience in our part of the world, we think that what made us scale extremely quickly, I think we went from, within the first 6 months, we started processing our first 1 billion in transaction, and that is building for scale. A lot of the solutions that we see today, especially in the space, are not meant to scale or are not built for an incubating problem statement. They're extremely niche solutions, and they're extremely limited to the technology architecture. It's just extremely good engineering, but there is not an actual solution statement to what you're trying to solve. And that actually gives people a lot of misguidance on how do we behave. And I think those are the main three themes that I have been seeing evolve within the blockchain space, and maybe hold back the blockchain space from reaching its consumer chapter as fast as it could be. So my advice to everyone is that if you're in the space, maybe three things everyone should focus on. One, simplify your problem statement as much as possible. Simplify your solution as much as possible. And the metric to do that is, if you're not able to say it in one sentence, I take you from X to Y, it's probably not a very good solution. Number two is work more on actual user segment that needs the solution more than it is a big user segment where you feel where the money is as much as possible. And number three, I think everybody should start paying a lot more attention to the simplicity of how the solution is put forward to users. How does my user actually interact with my solution is an extremely big problem. I think 90% of the blockchain solutions that we say today is probably middle end or back end layers where direct users don't actually have an interaction with them. And I think this is something that a lot of us need to pay attention, is how does my solution impact the way people do things. The best solution is to keep people doing what they're doing, so you don't really change anything, or you don't really need them to learn anything new. There is no learning curve. There is no joining curve. There is no switching cost for them. The next best thing is to make it better, is to find a way to actually look at what people do today and how you can make it shorter and smarter. I think that's all my time on stage today. Thank you all very much, and I wish you all the best of luck.